Here's a turntable I got for next to nothing because it was missing its stylus. It just needed to be replaced. And it's a budget and a low-end turntable. You can see the AT-LP60 stereo turntable here. And I've been using this for my record and vinyl listening needs for about 3 months now, and it's really been working quite well. This is not meant to be an all-encompassing review, tutorial, or anything like that. Just my thoughts and opinions on this turntable. Now, right off the bat, you may be wondering what's wrong with it and why the plastic is so scratched. The plastic they used on here is extremely soft and is a magnet for scratches. And what I frequently do is when I'm not listening to music on this turntable, I rest my records right on the plastic. And apparently I guess you're not supposed to do that because it really scratches it. You can take a look at how badly scratched that is. Really quite amazing, considering that most everyone puts their record sleeves on the turntable. And it's a little dusty. I have yet to actually fully clean it off, but we have a 33, 45 speed, no 78 or 16 RPM speed, and of course if you do try to play 78s on this and then convert the speed later in perhaps a program such as Audacity, you do need to get the proper 78 RPM stylus so you don't damage your records and you get better tracking as well as audio fidelity. And then over here we have start, stop, and the tone arm lift control. This is a fully automatic turntable, and so when you press this button you can see the turntable will begin to spin. And I'll just push and engage this so that we don't actually drop it on the slip mat, and then it would just go ahead and drop down on the beginning of the record. And it will also adjust the speed. If we press play here, it will reset, I believe, and then it will go to the 7-inch position for 45 RPM records. And then when you want to stop, you just click stop, and then it would go, and it's going to return to the tone arm rest position. There we have the size selector, like I said, 12 and 7-inch for your standard LPs and 45s. The stylus and the cartridge on here, not replaceable. You can't actually change the cartridge that this tone arm comes with. However, you can in fact change the stylus when it wears out. I haven't had much luck though looking for a genuine Audio-Technica OEM replacement styli with the Audio-Technica logo right here, and the best I've been able to find are just generic replacements that do sound very good, but they're usually a different color. They don't match. They're usually red or orange, perhaps even green, and I really like to stick with the original design. So here is a slip mat. It does use an aluminum platter. A lot of the low-end budget turntables these days, at least the ones I've come by and used, and this is a belt-driven turntable. It isn't a direct drive, and I will go ahead and just lift this belt up. You can see the mechanism is in very good condition. You can see the inner workings of the automatic mechanism right there. And it also comes with a 45 adapter. It is plastic, and they should have recessed this hole a bit, because I noticed if you just barely bounce into this turntable, this will go flying on the record, perhaps even damaging the stylus if it hits the tone arm. You can see it just rests there. It's really not very secure. And we have the mechanism here. It just uses a push lever that lifts up. You can see that plastic lifting up and lowering whenever I engage that button. Of course, when you first get this turntable, this is going to be separate with it, and it's going to have the belt attached like so. And how you're supposed to do this is you grab the belt, and then you slide the belt just like that. You can see it's now connected. And this being a very low-end turntable, there are no adjustments for the anti-skating, the counterweight, or anything like that. It's all fixed. And interestingly enough, there are two versions of these Audio-Technica AT-LP60 turntables. One that just has the standard RCA outputs for a stereo system, and then the USB model, which does come with a USB jack for hooking it up to your computer. However, one thing I have noticed with this turntable is that, like many USB turntables, you do get some of, I can't remember what it's called, some sort of DC interference noise that picks up in the recording. in quieter segments and sections of audio. I'll put a sample if I can. If I can't, you'll just have to take my word for it that it's a noticeable sort of digital noise interference that I don't know what's causing it, but I've heard it on other USB turntables as well. And one of the main selling points for this turntable is that it has a built-in preamp, so that you can just hook this up to a stereo that doesn't have a phono preamp. However, if you do have a stereo like I do that has a phono input with a phono preamplifier, you can switch this over to phono. It'll disengage the built-in amplifier, but it's nice to have the line level input if you want to hook this up to perhaps an audio mixer and you don't want to have to use a preamp first. And there we can take a look again at the model number and everything of that nature. Now, one nice thing I did notice about this turntable is that they put these rubberized feet on here that really help to absorb vibrations that get picked up throughout your furniture and floors, so you don't hear a rumbling sound in your audio. You can get just a better look at how scratched up that is. I'm sure everyone wants to hear what this sounds like, so let me get some 45s, some LPs, and let's give it a test. Okay, here's a 45 I hope I won't have issues with in terms of copyright. It's a Capitol release, Just As Soon As I Get Over Loving You by Gene Shepard. And there's two different ways you can go ahead and play this. Actually, three different ways you can engage the playback. First, you can just engage play right here by clicking play. The tone arm will lift up and lower on the record. Of course, you don't want to do that if it's on the wrong size. You can also lift up the tone arm, just lift it up, bring it over to where you want to play, and lower it by disengaging the switch, and it'll begin to play. Finally, what you can do also is just manually do it like you would with the old tone arms, the old turntables. Just lift it up yourself and lower it onto the record you want the portion that you want to play. For demonstration's sake, I'm going to go ahead and put my stereo receiver on to phono mode. It's over there. Switch this over to 45 speed. Press play, and we should begin to hear audio as soon as the tone arm lowers onto the record. I'll turn up the volume.
I'll go out tonight to old familiar places.
Okay, so that's a test of the 45. Sounds really good. Great bass reproduction. This cartridge, a lot of people complain about not being able to change it, but I think it does an admirable job of reproducing the sound, and it sounds very good for a low-end turntable. Okay, here's an LP. We have easy listening music from '66. Hopefully we won't have copyright troubles with this either. Again, to play LPs, we switch this, press play, and it will lower right on the record. So overall, a very good job, and I like the sound of this turntable. It's a low-end turntable aimed at beginners and amateurs, or just people just getting into vinyl collecting and music listening. But it's a real nice turntable for the price. It does a great job. For about half the price of a lot of other turntables, and I like the addition of an aluminum platter. It's a nice thing not having it be plastic and cheap and flimsy, and it's not plastic, so you don't get that bending tone arm that you do with a lot of really cheap turntables. So I hope you enjoyed this little quick overview on my thoughts and impressions on this Audio-Technica AT-LP60 turntable. Thank you for watching, and do leave a comment if you have one.